Welcome to Tatev Talks, where brains meets banter. On this episode, I'm answering all of your grad school questions. Stay tuned. Hi, friends. Welcome back. This week, we're talking grad school and a bunch of questions you have asked for me. I have them listed out right here. We're going to go through all of them. But before we do that, my favorite part of the episode is when I'm going to tell you what I'm obsessed with this week. Before I do that, I'm going to introduce Luke is here again. He's my cuddle buddy. So he's meshing with the blanket I have here, but he's here and he's the emotional support dog. And I think he's going to be the co-host. And next episode, he will introduce the podcast. So I hope you like having Luke here. He's the goodest boy. Okay. So what are we obsessed with this week? Trader Joe's. Again, if you can't tell, I love Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's mini dark chocolate mint stars. Okay. They are tiny baby mini dark chocolate mint stars. That's all that they are. They're incredible. Get them before they're gone. I think they're a holiday treat, so they will be probably gone in January, I'm assuming. I don't know why I know these things. I just do. And if you can't tell, I love Trader Joe's. And if Trader Joe's wants to sponsor me, they totally can. I am accepting offers. Please DM us at Tatev Talks Podcast. Luke, you can't have chocolate. Okay. So good. Let's get to it. Our first question, these are all questions that have been asked to me by y'all, by any of my students. So the first question is, what are the most exciting or challenging aspects of your current research project? I have been doing research with formerly incarcerated individuals and their path to higher education, how it got there, why they wanted to go back into school, and things of that nature. The coolest part of my research and the most exciting aspect of it is the fact that I get to add onto the literature and I get to add to a field that's not really often talked about. I'm getting to explore and understand a group of individuals that don't really get included in research. So it's fun for me and it's exciting just in general to know about them, but it's fun for me to do it because they're not often talked about in research. So it's nice to be able to investigate and come up with new ideas and come up with things and ways that we can help formerly incarcerated people get back into education, change the life trajectory, change the high rates of recidivism, so on and so forth. So I really, really like doing that. I think it's awesome. And anyone that I've worked with so far has also just really liked being involved in the research project as well. The most challenging part of it, though, is that it is a lot of work. Generally, any research you do is a lot of work. We just finished up we just submitted an IRB application, which is the Institutional Review Board. So anytime you do research that you're going to publish or, write about or present or do anything like that, you do have to run it through IRB. And that process of putting together your project and deciding what's going to go into it, what measures you're going to use, how you're going to do it, setting up the project and submitting it to IRB to get approval and then actually do research is the hardest part of it. It takes a very long time. So we've been working on this application and this project for over 6 months and we finally got it in. So I'm very excited about that, but that's a bit of the challenge, right? It's very hard to get the materials together, get the idea, put all the things together before you actually submit it. And then you always have some reviews to do and there's always work to be done. It's this never ending cycle. You always have to stay up to date. You have to be on top of your things. You always have to be researching, adding, doing all of these things. So it's very challenging in and of itself to do IRB, to just set everything up. So it's a lot of work. It seems very fun and cool and fabulous, but in reality, it's just a lot of hard work. So that's the most challenging part of any research, including my own. Second question. What advice would you give to other students who are considering pursuing a graduate degree in your field? So I have my master's in psychology and I have my PhDs in special education. So in both fields, I think the first thing that I would say is that I think is just incredibly important for any field that you're going into. First thing is that you want to work on all of your skills, perfecting them and developing them prior to entering grad school. What do I mean by that? Very, very simple. Your writing skills, reading skills, time management skills, networking skills, anything that you can think of that's a skill and not like knowledge based, like an actual skill that you can perfect. How are you highlighting? Do you have like a way that you write down all of your notes? Do you have a bullet journal that you take your like to-do lists, and all of those things are skills, and perfecting them prior to getting into grad school and getting to that point will make things a lot easier for you. You don't want to go to grad school where you have 14 million thousand pages of readings to do, not sure how to highlight correctly or develop a new highlighting system, or not know what's the best like agenda version that works for you, right? You want to know those things before you get into grad school so you're not testing things out and you're not going through like this trial and error process. Undergrad is a great time for trial and error. Undergrad is a great time for you to develop time management skills. It's a great time for you to like try the Pomodoro method and see if that works for you. It's a great time for you to get a bullet journal and see if that works for you, or order an agenda online and see if that works for you, and like kind of try things out that you have been wanting to do. So then it's ready and set for you in graduate school. In graduate school, you want these things to be like very, very robotic. So you don't have to think about it. You want all of your energy to go in developing new skills, right? Developing knowledge-based skills instead of like practical skills that you have. So that was the first thing that I would definitely say. The second thing is that I would advise that you have a career goal in mind. If you're going to any graduate program, I want you to be aware of what career opportunities you're going to have after that, right? The world doesn't start and end with graduate school. The world starts with graduate school, but the end goal is your career. So have a career goal in mind and attend a school that, or a program that's going to benefit that career. Or, have a career goal in mind and pick a program that's going to work for it, rather than picking a program and then deciding what career you want to go into. That's a really important thing to do, because whenever you're in graduate school and you have a career goal in mind, you can take on opportunities and skills and classes and all of those things that are going to benefit that career. Instead of kind of just going with the flow, you'll be able to organize your time in graduate school better to benefit your end career goal, right? What you're going to do for the rest of your life. So that's really important. And I do want to preface by saying it's okay if that career goal changes. If you go to graduate school thinking, I want to be X person, and then you go take a bunch of classes and you learn more about that topic and you learn more about whatever it is that you said you wanted to be, and you decide, hey, I think maybe that's not for me. I think maybe that's not actually what I wanted to do. That's okay for that to change a little bit, and you can decide what you want to do then. But going into grad school with an idea of what you want to do will help you find opportunities that'll make that better for you. Find opportunities that'll develop your CV, that'll develop your resume, that'll develop your experiences, that can make your life after graduate school a lot easier for you as well. And the last thing I'll say, piece of advice, the third one, is that you really want to be motivated about your degree, right? If you're pursuing graduate school, I assume you're motivated about doing it, but you really want to know that, like, hey, when I get out of bed and I know I'm going to sit in my car and drive to school and go and like be a student and be in class, like I'm excited, I'm motivated, I'm thrilled, I'm happy. Like you really want to be motivated and encouraged to be going to grad school, because that's really the only way it's going to be fun. So that would be my 3 pieces of advice. Okay, third question. What does full-time job and grad school look like? Are you able to do it? Should you do it? What's your advice about that? So I had a student ask me this question. I've always worked and gone to school. I've never just done school. I think that concept for me is a little strange for me, but I will say this. It's not easy to balance full-time work and school. because grad school generally is a full-time job. You're not just taking classes. There's a lot of work that goes into those classes outside of class that you have to manage your time really well to be able to do that. So it is very hard to balance work and school at the same time, let alone full-time work, right? It's not part-time, full-time work, 40 hours a week work. It's very hard to do it. But you can if you want to or need to. There are a couple things that I will say that you should keep in mind. So first of all, being able to balance full-time work and anything really, work and school, is a little bit of like knowing how well you can balance your stress or how well you can manage your stress, right? And for each person, stress is different. The way that we take on responsibilities and the way that we are able to handle those responsibilities vary. Stress is very much like a bell curve. If I can put a picture of a bell curve here, I will. But stress is very much like a bell curve. So what you want to think about is actually having stress is pretty good for you. So if you have a middle level, like if you're medium level stressed at all times, that's actually really good because you're motivated enough to do something, right? If you're not stressed at all, you're also not motivated to get anything done. If someone comes to you and says, hey, here are 4 books, you should read them. And you're like, okay, but you have nothing else to do. There's no end goal, no end date, no like thing that you have to turn in for these 4 books. No one's pressuring you to do it. There's no stress involved with reading these 4 books. You're probably never going to read the 4 books because nothing is like pushing you to do that. On the flip side, if you have too much stress where you're taking on too many responsibilities and you're not able to handle that, you're also not going to be able to do those things either because there's too much to do and not enough time. So you have to find your middle balance, right? Like how many responsibilities can you take on where you're stressed enough, but not too stressed and not under stressed? You want to be stressed enough to be productive. Too little stress, you're unproductive. Too much stress, you're unproductive. So you want to find that balance of what your middle ground is. And again, for each person, this is very different. I have always been able to work and go to school, but I've had friends, I've had family members. I know a lot of people that are only able to do one or the other. They are only able to go to school and devote all their time to it, or go to work and devote all their time to it. Balancing the two has not been good possibility for them, right? It just doesn't seem to work. So they just don't do it. Or I've also like taken on research projects that are not current, like my master's thesis. I was doing other research projects away from that. So, and some people are not able to do that because they just can't, which is fine. But acknowledging where your stress level is where you're going to be able to determine whether or not you'll be able to work full time and go to school or not be able to do that. The other thing I really want you to be aware of is that some programs don't necessarily want you to work outside of that academic sphere. So they don't want you to be involved in other corporations, businesses, in other schools, doing other things. If you're kind of going to grad school, the idea is that you're committed to that grad school and you're not going anywhere else. So it becomes a little hard to balance it with the expectation that you're only doing one thing. Now, no one can really force you to only do one thing. So if you need to go to work, you can go to work, but you do want to keep that idea in mind that the concept is that you're not really doing anything besides grad school, besides PhD, right? You can always get jobs on campus if you need to. They are not full-time. They would be part-time work, but you can do that if that's something you want to do. And the other thing is that a lot of grad school programs focus their classes in the day. So you're also not really able to do a typical 9 to 5 Monday through Friday because your classes will be in during 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. So you wouldn't be able to work those 5 days. So maybe being flexible with what you want your full-time job to be, and maybe being flexible with whether you want it full-time or part-time, things like that. And just kind of being aware of what your program requires you to do. There are a lot of grad school programs that focus their classes to be during the evening. So people are able to go to work full-time and then come to class in the evening. So it's there. You just kind of have to look for it if it's something you want to do. Okay, next question. How do you balance your academic work with your personal life? This is a really great question, and it's kind of similar to the other one. It's all about balance, right? It's all about knowing what you are capable of doing, how much you're capable of handling, how much time you can give to X, Y, and Z, and how to balance that time. All about balance. Love balance. This is a really good question because most people, any like meme you see online, anyone you talk to that's in grad school, anyone you talk to that teaches in the academic sphere, like anyone you talk to in the academic sphere will tell you that when you go to grad school, you have to say goodbye to your personal life for whatever years, because 2 or 5 or 7 or whatever years it is, because the only thing that matters when you're in grad school is grad school. I am not one of those people. I will not tell you that. That's not true for me. It shouldn't be true for anyone. You're a person. I'm a person. We're human beings. Your personal life matters. You exist in this world, and your world is not just academics. Like, your world is not just going to school and coming home. I promise you it's not, and it cannot be. So you have to figure out how you can do both, and you can do both. It's not impossible. It's just about how you do them, right? It's very important that you don't lose yourself in academics. It's incredibly important that you don't lose yourself in your classes, in your research, in your emails. It's just very, very important to be vigilant about how much of yourself and your time you're giving to academia, and how much you're taking away from your family, your friends, your hobbies, your life outside of the world of academia. It's not an easy thing to do. And I'll tell you a couple of things that I do. I think when I was in my master's program, more so, I was really big, and I had gotten this piece of advice too from a lot of people that, like, you have to say goodbye to your personal life. So I was like, okay, well, if this is what we got to do, then this is what we got to do. And I was really big on, in my master's program, like saying no to going out, and I didn't see a lot of family at the time. And I come from a very collectivistic community. And so it was like, you can't really say no to these events. And when I would say no, they would be like, oh, you don't like us, you hate us, you want to be away from us. So that's also hard to balance when you're coming from collectivistic cultures like that, being taken away from them and like involving yourself in academia so much that you're not seeing them on these like barbecue days or whatever days. It's hard for them to understand too. So something that I did is, again, take out your journals, write down all the things that you love to do, all the things that bring you joy, whether that's hanging out with your friends or your family or just by yourself. I would jot them down and really acknowledge it, right? It's not just about your personal life. It's not just about going out and not doing work. It's really more so like, if you're going to use the time to engage outside of academia, like engage with family, friends, or whatever, you should make that time valuable, right? Make that time the most that you can make it. If you are still at a point where you have a bunch of friends that you feel obligated to see and hang out, but you don't actually have fun or like enjoy that experience, those are probably not people you need to dedicate any time to when you're getting your degree. But there's probably other people in your life that do give you like joy and happiness. And when you're with them, you feel alive and like just really enjoying your time with them. Those are probably people you want to dedicate some time to when you're getting your degree. I would write those down. I would be like, hey, like, and start now. You're not in grad school. This is the perfect time to do it. Hey, when I hang out with these people, I don't feel energized after I leave. Or, when I hang out with these people, I feel like I make the most of my time. And be aware of that. So when you're in grad school, you can dedicate time specifically to do that. And that's what I would do, specifically dedicate time, whether that's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just Friday or Monday. I know there's different people who do this differently, but dedicate one day in the week where you're not doing any academics. You're not checking your email. You're not going on Canvas. You're not going on Canva. You're not doing any of those things. You're just engaging in the things that bring you joy, right? And this could be by yourself too. Maybe you just love like alone time, right? In the academic sphere, oftentimes we're constantly surrounded by people talking and engaging and networking. So maybe your personal life is really just being alone and having one day where you can do nothing, talk to no one, be unplugged, away from social media, and just do you, watch a movie, chill, have a spa day, do whatever it is, but do something that's good for you. If you're not energized personally and like just happy personally, mind, body, soul, connection, balance, all the things, if you're not doing all the things, you're just not going to be successful in your academics. So it's really important that you don't lose yourself in academia. It's important that you don't lose yourself doing, going to school every single day. It's very, very important. So you have to learn how to balance your personal life. And maybe it's not going to every single event, but it's going to a couple here and there. Maybe it's not, hosting all the time, but, going to places that you're feeling very energized coming out of them. So that's incredibly important to do. Okay, next question. What are your hobbies or interests outside of academia? I like to eat. I love eating anything. I just love to eat. I love to drink coffee, any type of coffee at any time, anywhere, forever. It's always a yes when it comes to coffee. You can never be wrong asking. You don't have to ask. I always want coffee. That's what it is. And shopping, I will go shopping. I'm going shopping today. I've been shopping 3 times this week. It's what it is. Shopping is great. I love to hang out with dogs. All dogs. My dog too. He's not here. My dog's name is Buddy. I love to hang out with dogs. They're so cute. Look at this guy. They're just the coolest people in the whole world. Actual hobbies though, I did try to take up playing the guitar and riding the skateboard. I wanted to be that guy. I forgot his name, but he's like a very cool skateboard guy. I don't know. I don't remember. For a while, I really wanted to be a really, really cool skateboard person. But then I realized that I'm not great with balance. And the only time I can ride my skateboard is on a leveled surface, big, wide, empty space. So no hills, no curves, no bumps in the road, just a big, wide, empty space and a leveled surface. I can ride my skateboard for like 15 minutes and then and then I'm done. I also learned how to play one string on the guitar, and that's about it. So yeah, those are my hobbies. I think coffee's the best one out of all of these things, and hanging out with the dogs. But I can do eating coffee, hanging out with the dog, and shopping simultaneously. So that's my hobby. Okay, next question. What are some of the most valuable lessons you've learned in graduate school? So the first one is trust yourself. I think when you're in a space where you're constantly getting advice from other people, when you're constantly getting advice and ideas of what you should do and how you should have done it and all of that stuff from other people, it's hard to listen to what you think is important. But at the end of the day, like, you kind of should know what's best for your project. You should know what's best for you. You should know what classes are good for you. You should know what is going to help your career goals. And I think it's important to ask for advice, but to be aware of what you think is best for you. So you're not losing yourself in other people's advice, right? At the end of the day, this is your life that you're cultivating. So it's important that you are aware of what you think is good for you and kind of move that way. There have been situations with me where people have told me, like, you should do this, or I don't agree. I think that you're wrong and you should do it this way. But at the end of the day, I know what's best for my project, and there's like a reason why I chose not to do it the way that they were telling me to do it. And after like talking to them and explaining it and having a conversation with the person, we were able to come to like an agreement, right? So there are a lot of these situations that are going to come up because you're one person and there's a million other people telling you a million different things, but you should just be very vigilant about what it is that you think is best for you and be able to, not fight for it, but be able to articulate why you think those things are good for you and how to go about them. In graduate school, you do have mentors. Most graduate schools do anyways, that are going to be the approval denial committee of everything that you do. They have to acknowledge that, like, hey, yes, I agree, I support this, and she can move forward, or they can move forward. But if they don't do that, then you can't move forward. So when you're going to them with an idea and they're blocking it for whatever reason, you have a choice at that point. Are you going to accept what they say and do it because you think it's right? Are you going to accept what they say and do it even though you don't think it's right? Or do you articulate why you don't think it's right? So having those conversations, being able to trust yourself, being able to know why you made these decisions, why you're doing these things is really important in graduate school. And, just to not lose who you are and how you're giving to the community, to the research, to the field, to academics. You're bringing a unique perspective into it. And when you listen to everyone else's advice, you might lose that. So it's important to trust yourself. Okay. I also learned that asking for help is a good thing. You don't know what you don't know, and you won't know it until you ask for help. So this is a learning process, right? You don't know that there are things out there that you don't know because you don't know them. And you have to be able to be like, hey, there's something that I can't do. Can you help me with it so I can learn it? Asking for help is how you learn. Asking for help is how you grow. And it's not a shameful thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not like anything to be not proud of. It's a good thing. Being able to ask for help is strong. It's courageous. Like, you should do it. If you don't know something, it's best to ask for help. I will preface this by saying, if you're a student and you haven't looked on the Canvas page or the syllabus, you shouldn't email your professor saying what time is class, because that's probably on the syllabus and the Canvas page. But besides that, if you need help, you should ask for help. Okay. And I'm going to end on a piece of advice that I think think about often. It's kind of like my slogan, I guess you could say. One of my slogans, because I have many. But when I was growing up, going through undergrad, I was often looking for someone that I could look up to, right? Like, what career did I want? Did I see anyone that I thought embodied that career that I could kind of look up to and be, right? And I didn't see a lot of teachers that looked like me. I didn't see a lot of teachers that were Armenian, young, anything like that. I didn't when I was an undergrad. And so this is the piece of advice, or not advice, but the slogan, right? Is it, if you don't see it, you can't envision it. And if you don't envision it, you won't become it. So being able to see what you want to be, like an example of it, and then envisioning yourself doing that thing is what's going to help you get to your career goal. If you cannot see yourself doing that thing, then you're not going to be motivated to do the things that are going to get you that goal. If I couldn't see myself being a teacher, then I wasn't going to do all the things that are going to help me in my teaching career. I wouldn't have done like the program I did in graduate school. I wouldn't have engaged in all these extracurricular activities. I wouldn't have been a TA. I wouldn't have done all of these extra things that helped my teaching career. It's because I was able to see myself as a teacher and see myself as an educator, and envision myself doing that when I was in undergrad. I literally envisioned myself doing that when I was in undergrad, and all of the steps I took in graduate school helped me along my path. So it's really important that you're able to see role models that look like you, or role models that you want to be. And if you don't see them, be very aware that you are going to be the role model for the up and coming generation, right? You are what people are going to be looking up to. You are in the career path that all the kids coming up are looking up to you, and then thinking about you and being like, wow, that person is so cool. I want to be like that person. I want to be blah, 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 blah. And envisioning themselves doing that, because you kind of are paving a way for people to do that. So if you didn't see it when you were going through grad school or undergrad, you're going to be that person for everyone coming up. So just be really vigilant of that, right? And be proud of it. It's something to be proud of, and it's a very awesome thing that you're doing. So that's my little slogan. If you don't see it, you can't envision it. And if you can't envision it, you won't become it. So let's become the things that we didn't see when we were growing up and help other people envision them. Thank you for joining us on this episode. We'll see you next week on Tatev Talks. Don't forget to like and subscribe.